until you win, effort always goes unnoticed. Get used to it.
And until you win, effort always goes unnoticed. Deal with it. Go get used to it. Yeah. I mean, that's very true. It's 100% true. I think the best way to equate it with the dog training is no one cares until they see the end result of your dog. You know?
That's a good one.
What do you think?
Why? What do you? Does it resonate to you at all?
Oh, it does, for sure. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I guess I went straight to the dog.
You went
training
straight
part.
to the dog.
Sorry.
I mean, this is a dog training podcast, I suppose.
No, that I guess for me, it is the same thing. It's like those first 2 to 3 years of doing photography, you know, personally, or but we can go back to the music days, you know, when you're like that first local band
grinding it out.
when you're selling the tickets at Peabody's and nobody would come watch you while you're on the Pirates Cove because you just happened to get the slot that was when the main act was playing at the same time. So people would come in and watch you for one song and then leave. Yeah, you know. And then that really happened with Clarity Calls Forth, old band. Look it up on YouTube.
Shout out Clarity Calls Forth.
But no one cared. And then we put out a release show and we put out an EP. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, people actually cared. And they started coming to shows and stuff. But then we broke up. But if we hadn't, you know, it's like those first, you know, fans see you then. And the new fans are like, oh my gosh, you're so good. But it's like, we've been around for 2.5, 3 years. You never knew, you know? And it is a thankless job to yourself until, you know, that 3-4 years after you've been putting in the work.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 100%. I mean, that quote for anybody, I think, is important. You know? Sometimes we want like immediate validation of the things that we're doing,
especially now with social media.
100%.
It's like if my first video doesn't go viral,
oh my god,
I'm quitting.
Yeah, like I mean, I remember every time I did something, right? Like whether it was music, who, you know, both you and I achieved obviously a pretty good level of success in that industry. Whether it's, you know, dog training, obviously, you know, we've achieved a very, very high level of success in that industry. Photography, your success has been consistently growing over the years with it, right? Initially, when we started all of those things, like even the biggest fans that you have right now probably were very skeptical of that initially.
Yes.
Right? Like I look at friends and family members that when I started in music, or more importantly, when I started in dog training, because that's the one that I really have, you know, made a name for myself with. I literally remember, even if it wasn't blatantly said, I remember the absolute judgment that I felt when I said that I was going to be going to do those things. Right?
Yeah, this is kind of like the last quote. This is kind of what I equated it to as well, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like you're not going with the same flow of other people, you know? It's like kind of out there, like dog train. Like when you told your parents, I'm sure, like, hey, I think I want to, you know, I got Vera. I think I want to train dogs.
Yeah.
I'm sure the looks were probably like, you know, what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I literally remember when I said I was quitting my shitty but stable factory job to be a dog trainer. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying, like, well, if you think you could support yourself off of that. Right?
Like the positive but kind of passive aggressive, like, are you sure?
Right? You know, and then it's like once you achieve the success, it's like, okay, then at that point, it's like everybody's your biggest fan. Right? But you know, until you hit that, you got to get used to the fact that people aren't going to approve of the things that you're doing initially.
Yeah.
Now let's equate this to your average client, right? A lot of the things that you're going to need to do if you want to have the level of training that you know, suck out dog training in order to achieve, a lot of the things you're going to need to do are going to be going against the grain.
Yeah.
Right? Fighting the norms of what it is that people generally think living with a dog, owning a dog, training a dog should look like. Yeah. Whether that's the tools you use, e-collars, prong collars, stuff like that. Whether it's the things you allow or don't allow your dog to do. furniture access, sleeping in the bed, putting them in a crate, whether it's the things you expect of your guests when they come over your house.
Yeah.
Leaving your dogs alone when you're working training with them, not allowing people to come up and interact with your dog constantly, stuff like that. There are going to be a lot of things that you do that initially, before people see the outcome of what those things will heed for you, they're going to judge the shit out of those things. And they're going to think that they have the greatest dog in the world, and that their opinion on what you should be doing is what really matters. They'll give you all the, well, with my dog, I did this and this worked.
Yeah.
Well, with my dog, all you have to do is just give him some treats over here and it'll work, right?
Yeah.
The amount of advice when you start training your dog, you will get from other dog owners in your friends or family circle is going to be absurd. And the amount of judgment you will feel for the things that you're doing is going to be absurd. And until your dog is so well behaved that it's undeniable to those people that what you're doing is working more than what they're doing, you will feel that judgment, and you got to get used to that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a big one, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think since every avenue I've taken after high school was the non-conventional one.
Yeah.
I've gotten pretty used to it, you know. Like even like this whole like apparel thing that I'm doing. You know, I still got the same thing, and I'm like, y'all said that when I was trying to be a photographer too.
Yeah.
And here we are. So it's all about your mindset of the future, not
100%.
not right now. It's like, what are you trying to achieve 5-10 years from now? You got to stop looking at the what am I going to get tomorrow from it?
Yep.
And that's the hard part, I think, for a lot of people.
I agree. All right. Anything else on that one?
I think the other thing too is people look at they go online. I think with dog trainers too, and we've kind of touched on this, but if they're like online, they Google like dog trainers in Cleveland, and then fucking 30 dog trainers come up. I don't know how many are in here, but I'm sure there's quite a few here in the Cleveland area. And it's like, oh, well, it's oversaturated. I can't make it here. Same thing with photography. Same thing with clothing brand. Same thing with hairstylists. How many hairstylists are around? And if you get caught up on like, oh, there's already so many people doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of brings up a secondary point is, as a dog trainer, I remember when I was a young dog trainer, if you will. And I remember wanting so badly to be like accepted by my fellow colleagues that were like doing big things.
Yeah.
Yep. And I built good relationships with them and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I can remember a couple people in particular that I would say I have a pretty good relationship with now that are bigger name dog trainers. There's a couple of them in particular I could think of that like early in my career definitely just saw me as just a fucking new whatever dog trainer,
newbie,
just a newbie, like nothing to pay attention to or anything like that. Right. And it wasn't until I started achieving success within my own business, right, that I started becoming respected by them,
Yeah.
And I see it a lot now with other new trainers who are either just getting started or still trying to find themselves in the dog world,
Yeah.
And I see in the comments they leave on people's posts and things like that of like other dog trainers, right? I see the desperation in wanting to be accepted by those people,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but like it's never going to get you there until you focus on yourself and you achieve something and you make yourself undeniable.
Yeah.
That you will become somebody that they will respect.